Good evening. You're watching Bharat Voice. I'm Ritika Acharya, and after a long break, I'm back again with all these interviews with you, and for you to enjoy these interviews and episodes, because a lot of you have been asking me due to my health, I've not been doing these interviews lately. But today we are back, and we are back with our special guest, retired Colonel Dinny, and Dinny. Colonel Dinny, I'd like to talk to you today about a very interesting topic which is already in the news and something which people are already talking about. Before the celebrations for the 73rd Republic Day tomorrow could even begin, there are so many changes that we've already seen. And those changes are that, for the first time ever in 50 years, the Amar Jawan Jyoti is going to be merged with the Jyoti of the memorial, the war memorial. And then now we're also seeing that the army uniform has been changed. And at the same time, we're also seeing that, whether it is the contingents marching and doing their practices before the beating retreat, and they're playing Bollywood music, and that suddenly becomes the talk of the town. So I'd like to understand from you, Colonel, that why is it so unique that, even before the celebrations have begun, so many changes are happening, and what is your emotion with it?
First of all, thank you, Ritika ji, for inviting me for this show, and I wish you and your team, Abhishek ji, and both of you a very good year this year ahead, healthy and happy year ahead. And coming back to your question, that yes, you're right that there are a lot of changes which is happening, and as they mentioned, change is the only constant. So even the armed forces also keep changing, not only the operational aspects but also the administrative aspects, depending upon the time in which these changes are happening. We can safely say that it is the need of the hour. Like for example, let's go by one. Like because of this COVID thing, there has been a reduction in the overall celebration of the Republic Day. Like last year,
Right.
it was. This year also, it's on a reduced scale. That's what we know. First of all, that is because the COVID protocols demand that there's a certain amount of COVID appropriate behavior has to be maintained. So that is one of the reasons why some of the things have taken place. Secondly, as you know, that the Indian Army and the Indian Armed Forces is in the process of evolving into a completely a modern armed forces, and there are a lot of things which we still we carry from our our history or legacy from the British days and subsequently after independence also. So that also is a process. It is not only something unique to Indian Armed Forces, it is common with all the armed forces that they keep evolving themselves. That is how they stay relevant, and that is the need of the hour, as I mentioned. Now here in this case, as far as the Indian Armed Forces is concerned, as far as the Republic Day goes, as you rightly mentioned, first and foremost, the merging of the eternal flame from the Amar Jawan Jyoti to which was that India Gate to the National War Memorial has already taken place, and that was that is something which is, I think it is one of those correct decisions to be taken, purely because first of all the people who laid down their lives for our country, whether it is pre-independence, post-independence, whichever war, they all have to be treated alike. Then the same manner, a soldier who was given his life, whether he's from 71 war, whether 65, 62, or even previous, deserve the same amount of respect. Now, the National War Memorial is the highest place or the highest symbol for the armed forces, for their fallen heroes, and therefore it is most appropriate that the flame remains there. So
should be there.
Should be there. So that is how and if you remember, the Prime Minister had already started coming to the National War Memorial before important functions.
Right, in the previous years as well. Right.
Absolutely. So that changes are already taken place. So it is most appropriate that the flame remains at one place, and that is at the National War Memorial. And as you saw that the place at India Gate is already now in the plans are there to bring in Subhash Chandra Bose statue, which is the most appropriate thing there.
Correct.
So I think that change is most one of the correct decisions, albeit a little late, but still I think it is one of those good decisions which has been taken. Now,
Colonel, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but I'm going to come to the Indian Army uniform as well. But before that, I want to understand your personal opinion, because this is become the viral videos have gone viral and people are talking about this as to why is it that the beating retreat practices were going on and the contingents were practicing their bands and they're playing Bollywood music when actually it turned out that they were just doing their warm-up exercises. What goes on? And now they're going to be playing the music by Lata Mangeshkar. What are your sentiments with this?
See, these are two aspects. One is the that warming up Bollywood music which you are mentioning. Second is the beating the retreat which you mentioned. First, let me answer the first part. See, we must understand that the soldier who is there on ground, who is doing the parade, he's also a human being. He's not a machine. He's a human being. And in Delhi, when the temperatures are so low, he has to get up at maybe 3:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, put on his uniform after having it has to be absolutely perfect, and he comes into the marching contingent. Now early morning, to get himself warmed up, there are ways and means of for the instructors or the people who conduct that drill to get the morale up, to get the josh up, so that the person is warmed up. Otherwise, he's not a machine that you just switch it on. Even during winters, for the machine also, you give some time to warm it up. So here is a soldier. Now, and let me tell you, Ritika ji, that soldiers also dance. Soldiers also cry. Soldiers also have emotions. So everything is, we are part of the same human system. So therefore, if to get him warming up, if you have a Bollywood number, and if it is the same song, he will dance in the Badakhana when it's a part of the same. So what is the wrong? The problem is that today each and every aspect of the armed forces is politicized very easily in our country. Very unfortunate, but that is the fact. Anything which does, it is politicized. And one of those reasons, I think, before people even know what is the logic, even people know what is happening, even people are just tweeting that see this, everything is being now Bollywoodization has taken place. Now coming to the second part of the thing, which is the beating the retreat, and why Abide With Me was changed, and why Lata Mangeshkar ji's that famous song has been there. See, this also is part of the evolution which takes place. Somewhere I agree that that Abide With Me was a very emotional song. It was also Mahatma Gandhiji's one of the favorite thing. That was also, we all know. But I think at some point of time, when we say that we are Indians, and when we know that we have to have our own identity, our own culture, I think for a very long time we have continued with that. So there is a point of time somewhere some things have to stop. We may not like it, but somewhere down the line some things have to change, and some things have to stop, and some things have to begin afresh, and some things may just continue. So it is those changes which are taking place. I think there's needless, again, unnecessary controversy on this. I think whatever we should be proud of it, and I think we should move ahead with it.
Sure. Colonel, now let's talk about the army uniform as well, because it's been changed. And, you have served with the Rajput regiment for about 22 years. And, you can tell me that, of course, not many people know that actually only the combat uniform has been changed, and not because army has many other uniforms. Not everything has been changed. And this one that's been changed, we also saw Colonel, the Chief Naravne wearing it a couple of days back, and it was introduced on the January 15th on Army Day. More comfortable material, polyester cotton mix. Also, it has got more digital prints and stuff like that. What do you think? Why is it important to change the uniform again? Of course, you're talking about change and evolution, but why was it changed? What is the significance for this, and what's it going to help in the future?
See, first of all, the Indian Army is a very operationally active army. It is not a ceremonial army. We are an operationally active army. We always, forever in operations is some of the mottos which we are. Whether it is Kashmir, whether it is Northeast, whether it is China, everybody keeps us busy, and therefore you're always in operations. Now, when you're in operations, we have a unique country in which all kinds of terrain is available. You have the mountains, you have the jungles, you have the deserts, you have the coastline and all those. So each of these terrain demands different type of operations, different type of strategies, and therefore different type of administrative this also. As part of operation itself, if one of the things, like when we are in jungles, it is easy. It has to be that we have to get camouflage with the surroundings. Therefore, that is the need of this particular combat dress which is there. That is purely for operations oriented. So wherever you go for this counter-terrorism operations or counter-insurgency operations, if our uniform is a giveaway, it is easier for the terrorists to take a pot shot, that even if you are hiding behind a bush or something, waiting for it, it's easier to make. So that is why you have to completely camouflage as much as possible. And of course, there are many other mechanics to it. But uniform is one part of it. And therefore, this evolution again takes place. Secondly, over a period of time, what has happened is that the army was the first force which had brought this combat camouflage dress. But along with army, now Air Force also has the CAPF, the CRPF, the BSF, all those people also, and even for that matter, even state police of people also started wearing because of this Maoist threat and all. So somewhere down the line, there was no distinction between the army and others also. So therefore, there was another need, because army had to have a Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you, Colonel. Sorry, I think there was a glitch in between because of the internet. Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello?
Colonel, I can hear you. Okay, a little bit of a glitch there because of the internet. I think we're going to get the Colonel back in a few seconds. And he's here.
Can you hear
Colonel,
me?
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry about the internet glitch. Yeah, please go ahead.
So I was mentioning that so that differentiation also has to be there. And thirdly, like you mentioned, that this is a with technology, with we can evolve into better uniform, lightweight. Otherwise, the uniform which we used to have was quite a cumbersome kind of a thing. There was a lot of temperatures when it used to rise. It used to sweat a lot. So therefore, you have a t-shirt which is coming inside now. And so these kind of changes are also have taken place. It's lightweight, it is better, it can be it can be used more regularly. All those changes have also been incorporated, and that is why this change, this particular uniform also has undergone a change. And as you rightly mentioned, during the Republic Day parade, which is tomorrow, that evolution of that uniform also is being shown. That from starting the Rajput regiment, who will cover the uniform from 50s, from then Assam regiment into the 60s, and I think after that was the Jackal regiment, the Jammu and Kashmir Light Infantry. They will come into the 70s, and then followed by the Sikh Light Infantry and the Ordnance, who will cover the uniform subsequently. So that evolution also will be shown tomorrow.
Again, so this has been like a series of change that we're seeing happening by the Indian Army, and because of the top leadership as well, who are motivating these changes, and which are much required changes. Okay, so since we're talking about that, I also want to understand a little bit about the weapons, the army weapons, because on one hand, there's a talk about indigenously making these weapons, and for the longest time, the Defense Ministry was actually rejecting some of the tenders that were coming forward from the Israeli manufacturers. But there's a very stringent process that goes into changing the weapons and bringing something new. And this time the contingents will be carrying the tabor rifles. So if you can talk about that. And on the other hand, let's say the indigenously making, L&T is making, let's say, the howitzers and stuff like that. What is the significance of all of this?
See, there is definitely no doubt that there's a lot of emphasis, focus, and a lot of allocation of resources for indigenization of our armed forces, which includes the weapons. Okay, so because we know that we are one of the biggest importer of weapons, thereby this drains a lot of our money which goes out, which ideally should have been given. So there is we know that the government, the present government has taken a lot of steps, including making it mandatory for many items to be made inside India itself. The Ordnance Factory Board have been now made into a corporate body. So such changes are taking place. That is purely that so that our indigenization of our weapons is increased, and therefore we become a global player as far as the arms and weapons and all those things are concerned. But as of now, what is happening is that these things takes time. Like for example, if you plan to have a weapon today, then it will take many years to to give out the requirement to be accepted by the government, and then after that again many years for it to come on ground after having validation and all those things, and to reach the soldier. So it is a long process. It doesn't happen overnight. So, and it's a continuous process. So as far as us is concerned now, that like you spoke about the rifles. So we in India, you would be knowing that we are, along with India and Russia, jointly making the AK series, AK-203 weapons.
Right.
And
Right.
there is a factory which is coming up in Amethi. It's already come up there. So we will be making that weapon there. Initially, now the weapons are being made in Russia. The first is already here, I think. And now we will start making these weapons here itself. What the Indian Army primarily is that this personal weapon of a soldier was what we were having an issue over a very long time. Although we had the INSAS, or the Indian Indian systems, INSAS weapon which we had, so that weapon was not very effective for counter-terrorism operations. What happens is that when the this Indian small arms systems or INSAS which was being used, when used to fire on the terrorists, they used to get up and again they used to run away, because that effect was not much. Earlier, the 7.62 mm SLR or the self-loading rifles, those were very effective. So similarly now, and then what we used to that we had to actually perforce use AK-47s which were captured from the terrorists, in these in these areas.
Oh, really?
So that is how, yes, that's how we used to do that. And then we started, getting the AKs from outside also. All those things used to take place. Now, what happens was, now we're going to make those AKs here itself. In the meantime, for example, like Tavor and all, these are for specialized troops, for the special forces and all those things. They have been given because their quantity is not much. They are a very small specialized unit, and for them, this best of the best weapons are being given. Similarly, is with artillery guns. We had buffers which had come up, which had made a major role in Kargil. Now India is building its own artillery guns. Even the Bharat Forge Kalyani group, they are making their artillery guns. The OFB has made an artillery gun. So similarly, artillery gun is the howitzers and all those things have been taken care of. So and the attack, the light helicopters, advanced light helicopters, that India is making. So these kind of changes have taken place, so that at some point of time, we will stop importing the weapons, and we will now start exporting our own. I think like what the BrahMos missile, you would be aware, is being exported to Philippines.
To Philippines as well. Yeah.
So that kind of things will be, it is what India is looking at.
So not just saving money, but also maybe curbing a little bit of red tapeism there, if I'm not wrong.
Sorry.
Also curbing a little bit of red tapeism there.
Absolutely. Because the entire thing, and not only red tapeism, is also a lot of corruptions also. You will see the reduction in that also.
Right. Colonel, let's talk about something a little more personal to you, because whenever you come with us for an interview, I always end up asking you such serious questions. But just to understand a little bit about your life, because you've served 22 years with the Rajput Regiment. I just want to understand: has there been ever a point that you visited during the Republic Day parade, or you happened to meet even the CDS? Because this time we'll be sorely missing the CDS. We'll be missing Bipin Rawat. And did you have any experiences with him, or did you meet someone? Something you'd like to share with us?
See, as far as the Republic Day goes, I had gone as a NCC cadet from Kerala, and I was one of the best cadets of Kerala. That we had gone there as in 1995. So as a NCC cadet, I had attended the Republic Day parade. Sri Narasimha Rao ji was the Prime Minister then, and I was very fortunate enough to see that and attend that. But as in the service, one did not get the opportunity to go to the Republic Day parade. So that memory is still with me as a college student. When I went there, I really had a great time, and those, I think, one of those cherished moments of my life. As far as General Bipin Rawat is concerned, yes, I did meet him, and unfortunately, it was the same place where he was, going for the speech, and where that accident had taken place. That was at the Defence Services Staff College. Yes. Wellington, Defence Services Staff College, Wellington, where I was also a faculty there, and he had come as an army chief. So the same procedures we used to have, and we were there to receive him and all those things, and then he used to address the students, the student officers, and then there is a tradition of when these officers, senior dignitaries come, they have an in-house discussion with the faculty members alone, just with the faculty members, so that you can open up, you can ask questions and such. So we had a discussion with General Bipin Rawat then, and I remember what 2-3 things which I distinctly remember. One was that he was very forthright. He was very, he didn't mince words. He was a soldier and very less of a diplomat. So he was just whatever the question was asked, thrown at him, he answered it without ever thinking that what the other person would feel, and that is the first thing which I still remember. Second thing, and he was then the chief, and nobody knew that he would become the chief of defense staff or something. But he was very clear that there's a lot of things which needs to be changed within
the change that we're talking about today. So many questions I've asked you about change in the army, and exactly what his brainchild was.
Yes, and he was one person who was very clear that rather than we always saying that the bureaucrats are not helping us or the politicians are not understanding us, and then let's change from within also. They will do their bit or we will push, but then we need to change from within also is one of the things which I remember very clearly what he mentioned. And third thing, somebody had asked him that, sir, how, and that time also he had this trouble with the media and some statement which he used to give, and it was picked up because, as I mentioned earlier, that everything is politicized in our country. To an extent it is okay, fine, the politics should be very vibrant, but unfortunately the armed forces should remain away from it. So just because General Bipin Rawat was nominated by a particular government doesn't mean that he belongs to the particular party or that he is from the Indian Army. He remained with as a soldier. So at times he used to get in touch. So then this question was asked. So he said that it is not my job to answer each and everything which they say. I have a job at hand, and what I feel right and what I feel is in the best interest of the nation and the organization, I'll continue airing it. So this he very openly said that time also. I remember that. So these are the few incidents in which that particular visit, which I remember about General Bipin Rawat.
Right. Okay. Some insights there about you meeting Bipin Rawat ji. Okay. Colonel, now I want to understand about, so what happens recently in the Rajya Sabha, a question was asked to the defense minister, and to the question that was asked to him, he replied saying that a question was asked about the vacancies in the army. And he replied saying that currently there are 97,177 vacancies of the MN sailors, the junior commissioned officers, and other ranks. What I want to understand from you is that, is this an alarming number, or is this something completely normal because these vacancies keep getting created and then keep getting filled, or is this an alarming number? Although India has the biggest voluntary army in the world, people happily join the army themselves. But what is your take on these numbers, and do we need to have more recruitment, and what goes on in the army now?
See, as far as the vacancies is concerned, this is a process which keeps going on. Number one. Number two, there are two issues here. One is, as far as the officers are concerned, there has always been you will find that there is a shortage of officers which is there. As far as the other ranks are concerned, or as far as the sailors or the airmen or the soldiers are concerned, there has actually never been a shortage, and you would have seen in news also that even places like Srinagar, where there is so much of insurgency and terrorism, you will find lakhs of people coming there for recruitment. So that is one thing which anywhere in our country, wherever you go, as far as the recruitment for the soldiers are concerned, you will find massive numbers turning up for that. And there is no problem. The problem, or not even a problem, there is the shortage of officers is something which has been there for a very long time now, and 2-3 reasons are there also because of it. One is that the selection process for an officer is very, very strict. It's very strict. So there is something known as there's a officer like qualities required, which there is a process of service selection board, the SSB. So they do not dilute the standards to that extent that you call anybody and everybody to become an officer in the Indian Armed Forces. That doesn't happen. So unless you get good material or adequate enough to take on the challenges of being an officer in the armed forces, he or she cannot get selected. So that is one of the reasons. So that is why you'll always find that thousands of people come, but only a few make it to the officer's rank.
Okay.
Then also because of the changes taking place within the organization, that there are new headquarters coming, there are new things. So you will always find that these things keep changing. I will not call it alarming, but definitely we should pay attention to it, is what my understanding is.
Okay, all right. There are two last questions I have, Colonel, with you. Another, I want to ask about the Maritime Theatre Command, which could be possibly announced on the 15th of August 2022, because this is something I believe is the brainchild of Bipin Rawatji as well. He often mentioned and he often talked about it. What is this Maritime Theatre Command, and why is this important for us? Because previously only till now only 5 countries have it: UK, US, France, China, and USA, and India is going to be having this. What is the significance of this, and how do you see this?
See, for a very long time, Ritika ji, the need for a jointness in the armed forces was there. What do you mean by jointness is that all three forces fight together. You can't fight your own battles and expect that to win the thing for the war for the country. So what happened was that there is a requirement that at the moment what was happening was Air Force was fighting their own battle, Army was fighting their own battle, Navy was fighting on the battle. So there was no coordination which was done. So the appointment of the Chief of Defence Staff in General Bipin Rawat was the first Chief of Defence Staff, was primarily therefore to coordinate all these three forces together, so that there is understanding that what each other is doing and the resources are pulled in and the best outcome comes out of it. So one of the thing which was there was that at present there are multiple commands. Command is the highest field formation in which the armed forces fight. So there were the Air Force has its own commands, Army has its own command, and Navy has its own command. So now with the changed scenarios, we know that today the maritime domain is one of the most important aspects as far as India is concerned, and the talk of Indo-Pacific and the Blue Water Navy, all those things are. So definitely the Maritime Command, I'm not very sure whether that is the exact terminology which they're going to use, and but there is definitely a command which will focus on the maritime aspect predominantly. So we will definitely have a command for that. We would have a command for looking after the Chinese aspect, Chinese threat. We would have a command looking at the Pakistani threat. And similarly, maybe a cyber and a space and such like things, or a special forces. So these are various options which are available. But for sure, you can be rest assured that one command would definitely be there, which would be looking at the Maritime Command, because the future of the Indian Armed Forces, the power would be derived from how best are we taking on the challenges from the maritime aspect. So I think definitely we will be having a Maritime Command, and which would be definitely the leadership would be with the Navy naturally. At the moment, we only have the Andaman Command, which is the Tri-Services Command. So we have an Andaman Tri-Services Command, but overall the Maritime Command or a Peninsular Command, or whichever way you want to call it, but definitely you can be rest assured that one thing will come for sure.
Okay. So, Colonel, lastly, I have my very last question for you is that since you avidly write and talk about national security as well and international relations as well, so again, for the second time in the row for the Republic Day, we're not going to be having any chief guest because of this COVID situation. But very soon, the Prime Minister is also going to have a virtual conference with all the Central Asian countries, and therefore, these people were actually supposed to come as chief guest to India for the Republic Day: Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. So all these countries, I just want to understand from you that do you think that India is looking at actually strengthening its relationship further with these countries, with these Central Asian countries?
Oh, absolutely, Ritika. There's no doubt that the fact that we have invited them as a chief guest for Republic Day itself shows how high we place them on our international relations or on our priority list. You would be aware that President Trump had come as the chief guest. President Obama has come, and this is seen as a sign of the highest respect India shows to that country, or the priorities, the value which we attach to that particular relationship. However, unfortunately, for the second time in a year in a row now, because of this COVID, they are not able to come physically here. But notwithstanding that, we would be having the Prime Minister would be having a conference on the 27th with them. Now, as far as the Central Asian Republic is concerned, they are very of extreme importance to us, primarily because we know that at the moment Afghanistan is in a state of turmoil.
Correct.
Now, in case you need to have any kind of influence on Afghanistan, then these Central Asian republics would play a major role along with Iran, because you can't expect Pakistan or China to give us any room there or any breathing space there. So firstly, to have an influence in Afghanistan, we need very friendly relationship with the Central Asian republics and also Iran. So that is one. Second thing, our energy requirements. As you know that this particular these countries are very energy rich countries.
Energy
For
rich.
our yes, to get our to meet our energy requirements, the good relationship with these countries would definitely be of help to us. And thirdly, also because Pakistan would not like anything, they were very happy that we have moved, our influence in Afghanistan has totally been been removed, if you can say so, after the Taliban have taken over. Now even if we continue to have influence to the further in these in these countries, therefore you have actually, Pakistan will feel slightly uncomfortable by our presence there. We already have a airbase and all there, so these kind of things makes Pakistan uncomfortable. So in the overall sphere of things, Central Asian republics would definitely play a major role as far as our not only our close proximity geopolitics is concerned, but also our energy requirements and many other issues.
All right, all right. Colonel, you've answered all pertinent questions as always. And, whenever we get you on board, we talk about many issues and, today we talked about the changes in the army. Today we talked about the Public Day, the meetings retreat, as well as issues of national security as well. Thank you so much once again for joining with us. And the first interview that we did after a long break, thank you so much for joining with us and taking out your time and answering all the questions. And thank you to all the people who are watching live and also some of the people who put questions there. Thank you so much. Thank you, Colonel, once again.
Thank you, Ritika ji. I wish you and your team a very good year ahead, and wish you all good health. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Jai Hind.
It is still live.
Is just going, sir. 1 second.